Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be back here at the Empowered CEO Summit, sharing the stage with Miss Maryrose Lyons. We're going to have an awesome conversation. After looking at your bio and looking at all of your information on LinkedIn, this is going to be an amazing conversation and very timely, as I know a lot of the audience members are so excited to learn how they can use AI in their next phase of professional life. So thank you so much, Mary Rose, for being here. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be a part of this, really.
Oh, awesome. Thanks. So I'm going to just go through your bio and then we're going to jump right into the topic. So Miss Mary Rose is a visionary AI educator, a dynamic speaker, as well as a digital marketing pioneer. Okay, you know you're in the right
I
room.
like it.
Pioneer in the title. She is a trailblazing force in the world of AI education and application, which are two very important caveats, right? You can't just have the education without the implementation. So, as the founder of the AI Institute in Ireland, she has positioned herself at the forefront of the AI revolution, empowering businesses and individuals to harness the transformative power of generative AI. With over 2 decades of experience in digital marketing since 1999, so we have an OG in here, okay? It's not newbie AI. She knows what she's talking about. Mary Rose has consistently demonstrated her ability to spot and leverage emerging trends. It's very important. Her foresight was evident when she presented one of the first live demonstrations of ChatGPT, which was probably a little bit scary, but exciting at the same time.
Yeah.
Mary Rose also has multiple degrees in business as well as economics. She has a master's in cyber psychology, which I have never actually heard of that. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about that. It sounds
Yeah.
amazing. She's also accredited as a UX designer, and she also has professional certifications in AI. With her unique blend of academic knowledge and practical experience, she's able to bridge gaps between tech innovation and strategic business needs. That's the bridge that we need right now in this age of AI. She is a sought after speaker, an MC, and a panelist. She's helped over 600 businesses enhance their productivity using AI. She regularly contributes to a column called AI for Beginners. And she also receives high praise for her appearances at Image business events, as well as the Dublin Tech Summit. So, as the founder of the AI Institute, Mary Rose leads courses designed to equip learners with the knowledge and skills needed to leverage AI in their work. Her mission is to help business leaders save time, yay, augment workflows with using AI,
Double
as
yay.
yay, and this makes her an invaluable asset to organizations looking to thrive in the digital age. So, again, I just want to thank you so much for being here. I love reading the bios because I'm like, it's such an amazing journey. And I know a lot of women don't tell their own story. So, I love to really dig into the whole bio and really share your brilliance and all of your values. So, thank you again for being here. Before we jump into the topic, which is really about helping beginner business owners with big dreams leverage
Mhm.
AI. Can you give us some highlights of your journey of how you started and where you are now with the Institute?
Absolutely. Well, I'm delighted to be here. That was a very uncomfortable thing for me, having to listen to all the praise and smile and not go, "Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed." The journey for the AI Institute has been remarkable. Um, I ran another business called Bright Spark for 20 years beforehand. That was like a trailblazing digital marketing agency. And what I have found with the AI Institute is that it's so much faster.
Mm.
We are less than a year old, and the amount of businesses that we have helped is much larger than I did even in the first 5 years in my previous business.
Wow.
It's actually more than 600 now. I was actually sitting there thinking I must update that. It's actually closer to 1,000 at this point now.
Wow.
The pace of change is amazing. in May, I decided we can't just do B2C. I need to bring on B2E. And like since May, I've got a business partner who specializes in the enterprise market in the UK. He's on board. We now run programs for enterprise, as well as all our lovely consumer courses. We've got new course creators on. And I pinched myself going, this has been like 11 months, whilst also keeping up with the whole pace of change in the AI space itself,
Right. Yeah.
which is unbelievable. And that's actually one of the reasons, April, why we always keep our courses, they're live online. Because I kind of reckon, like, if you recorded things, you just spend your whole life re-recording.
Right.
And there's a lot of power of learning in groups and sharing. So our stuff is all kind of cohort-based learning. So you have like marketers learning together,
Mm.
salespeople learning together, finance people, beginners. And there's an awful lot of excitement and joy in the room. And I love it. I just love it. I don't see myself as a trainer. I see myself as I'll show you around. Come, wait, I'll show you this.
A
Oh, wow, look
guide.
at this. Yeah. And
Just a
it's just,
sophisticated
yeah,
guide.
exactly. I'm your guide. Yeah, it's just such a joy. It's so much fun.
That's so amazing. And you just actually tapped into another trend that I've noticed throughout the interview series. A lot of women transitioned from what they had been doing previously and then started something that was AI driven, and they've seen their success accelerated. So, even with a few of the other organizations, in less than a year, they've been able to create so much impact. And so, for someone who is in the audience and like, okay, I'm tired of my 9 to 5, I'm in corporate, a lot of women have been doing their corporate jobs for 10 or 20 years, and they're like,
Mhm.
hey, I want to see that accelerated success. What would be some of the steps that you would guide them to, and if they wanted to now, become their own boss and, maybe transition into, you know,
Into
chief
this
everything
new
officer,
world.
their own, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, in true digital marketing style, I've got 5 top tips for everybody today.
Yes.
There are many, many things, but I distilled what I think are the most important 5. What I would say though, before I go into the 5, is that one of the observations I've had of the kind of people learning with us is that we have had a lot of women in particular
Mm,
over the age of about 35. People kind of who are kind of feeling like they're a bit afraid they don't want to get left behind. They definitely don't want to get like left on the shelf in their roles. And they are embracing AI. And what I'm finding is that they're doing really, really well out of this because it's actually about being an early adopter. It's about mindset. It's nothing to do with your job role, your title. It's nothing to do with your age. So when we're working with corporates, I'm saying to the CEOs, I'm kind of saying, look, it's not actually about the top team. It's about the people who are really switched on to bringing and being agents of change within the organization. They're the ones that you want to skill up, and they're the ones you want to make champions.
mhm.
So my 5 tips I have for you, and I'm thinking of you out there who might be sitting there going, I so want to set up my own business. I've wanted to do this for so long. It's actually the best time ever to do it now. Isn't, would you agree, April? Like there's
I
just
I
so many
one
supports.
1000 wholeheartedly agree, especially when I see statistics. Sometimes when I do presentations, I put in a quote from Mark Cuban, and he basically says there are only two types of businesses, existing businesses and the ones that are using AI. If you're not using AI,
Mm,
you're going to fail. And so when I think of
yes.
Mark Cuban, tech billionaire,
He
I, as
knows a
a
lot.
small business owner, one, he knows what he's talking about, but
Yeah.
also two, as a small business owner, I'm having the same problems that he's having as a billionaire. And I'm like,
Yes.
wow, that's an amazing opportunity.
And you know what I always talk about? I love the idea that like the Mark Cubans of this world and you and I, we're all using the same version of
See?
ChatGPT or
Exactly.
of, well, if you're on the paid version, that is, you do not want to be on the free version if you're serious about setting up a business. Okay,
True.
that'd be a first kind of precursor point I would like to make.
Hmm.
The differences between, say, 3.5 and 4.0, which is around now, or indeed, Claude paid or any of the other LLMs, it's poles apart. So if you can try and rustle up that $20, it's so worth it. But it is a great leveler. So, you and I and Mark
And Mark,
and Mark Zuckerberg, Zuck, and the like, we're all using the same models, which is
right?
fantastic. So the other thing I was going to say is that like there is a lot of talk in the kind of tech circles about how we're soon going to see the rise of the 1 or 2 person unicorn.
Yeah.
So a unicorn is a company that's valued at $1 billion.
Hmm.
And the one or two person unicorn means that you don't have to have a team of 20 people just in the finance department. You
Yeah.
know, you can actually use your team of AI, GPTs and models and so on, which I'm going to explain to you right now how you can do it. So, you know, maybe someone listening here today or tonight, April, is actually that tech unicorn. Could be
Mm,
you.
yeah.
So let me just begin by saying, okay, so if you're thinking about setting up a new business, you know, you're going to do some research, aren't you? You're going to look at your kind of the competitive environment and see, you know, who you're going to be taking on. You're
Yeah.
going to be researching things like the product market fit.
Mhm.
You're going to be looking at things like, you know, the kind of way you're going to segment your market. These are kind of core kind of business and beginner concepts.
Yeah.
And you can do this so well using AI, using either, you know, chat. When I say AI, I'm talking about ChatGPT, or you might use Anthropic Claude, or you might use Google's Gemini, you might use Copilot. So they're all there, and you know, I'm kind of using them interchangeably.
Yeah.
Now I know that Lisa and Janelle are really strong on this whole kind of segmentation and this kind of strategic marketing approach. So I won't speak too much about that because I'm sure they've already done that really well. But definitely go back and have a listen to their recordings if you haven't watched them yet. So your first step is you're going to use the models to get some really good prompts in and to get some great insights about the product market fit and the area that you're going after. And the way it works is that you're going to be asking it questions
Hmm.
through prompts. Okay, let's use the jargon. You're going to be asking it questions, and it's going to come back to you with maybe 5 or 10 answers. Or if it gives you one answer you like the look of, you say, "That's good. Now give me 7 other examples," and it can just give you 7 more examples. And you know, April, the way you get a long list of things, and then we as the human, our job is to go, okay, that's really good. There's a long list of 10. 7 of them are brilliant. 3 are duds. I'm never going to go near them, but I'm going to work with the 7.
Yeah.
So there's always human in the loop. So it's always about us, the human, to kind of come up with the really good prompt.
Yeah.
And then it's always up for us, the human, to say, okay, I'm going to take this and this, and I'm going to overlook this. Would you
Yeah.
agree?
I completely agree. I completely agree. I think some people forget that the human is still directing the tool. It's not going
Oh,
to take
yes.
over. You have to actually have discernment to know what it is that
Yeah.
you're to achieve. So I agree. I'm like taking
Absolutely. It
my
kind of
notes.
makes you your best self. So
Yes.
I kind of liken it to, it's like having like, so it's like having a sort of an always on, incredibly intelligent PhD level assistant who never shows up tired or late for work, who never eye rolls when you ask them to do it again and again and again, you know. So that's the joy of it. So the first thing I would say is that, you know, if you were sort of going to give yourself a 5 day sprint of setting up your business, day one, spend a little bit of time, and I say maybe an hour, prompting to get out some really good answers on your product market fit. Okay,
Yeah.
so we have that sorted.
Can I
Okay,
ask you
so
one question
yeah, of
before we go to the
course.
next step? I find a lot of new entrepreneurs. I love that you started with the product market fit and getting insights from the market. One of the
Mm.
challenges people start do, they'll like have an idea, completely skip over what does the market actually want, and then they'll run with their idea. And so could you just tell us a little bit about the danger of not actually looking at what the market environment is actually looking for and wanting,
Yes,
so that you don't just start with an idea that may or may not be a solution that people are going to pay for.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, for example, if we think of give me an example of a business type that we might kind of refine down a bit.
Let's say someone who's like has been in PR in like the
Yeah.
corporate space in PR.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
So somebody's been in the corporate PR world. There is no point in coming out and saying, and we do PR, because there's loads of people doing PR. And then when I'm searching around for finding a PR company that matches me, would you maybe define yourself as PR for busy female-led companies? I'll stop in my tracks and go, oh, that could be me. Or it could be PR for the tech sector. So we do tech sector, that's what we know. Or
Yeah,
PR for by region, by location. It could be any number of ways of defining yourself in that. So the more well defined you are,
yeah.
the more business you're going to get
Mhm.
because you're going to attract your ideal client. but also it's a kind of a less expensive way of promoting yourself, because the more niche down you are, then you'll be much more targeted, and then you're going to have to spend less time and less money on trying to be all things to all people rather than being the thing to that very small niche audience that you've identified.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the first thing I would say, is like doing your research in that. The second thing is, you know, even if you're in a corporate environment these days, like it's very, very seldom that you'd have your own PA.
Hmm.
You know, you watch Mad Men and you go, wow. I look at that and I go, imagine a world where you had people like doing things for you, like bringing you coffee and
Right.
doing your typing. You know, wow. You know, now we do
Amazing.
everything, everything. But the great thing is that all of the AI tools now offer these things called, it started out with GPTs.
Mm.
Okay. So it's like a virtual personal assistant.
Yeah.
So as you're getting kind of good at prompting and getting the kind of answers that you want out of the various different AI tools, you might find that you're kind of putting the same prompt in again and again.
Hmm.
Or you're saying, okay, act like A, and you're giving it some context.
Yeah.
I'm sure people have spoken about that already. You're giving it some context about who you want it to be, and then you're giving it the brief. So what you can do now is you can set up these little virtual assistants that sit on top of the model, and you can literally prime them to be just what you want them to be. You can feed them your own personal, your information about how you like to do things. So
Yeah.
for example, on ChatGPT, you can set up a GPT, and essentially what you're doing is you're creating a little capsule full of your data. And it's kind of data that maybe the model wasn't tested on. So, for example, if you're an event management company, it's your processes, it's your blueprint about how you do things. So you're able to set up this little area with how you do things, which is also able to feed into the whole model of like the intelligence of the world. And then you're going to go in, and instead of having to repeat yourself every time by saying, we're an event management company, this is how we do things, this is our tone of voice, you can just go straight in and get your answers out on your GPT as described. So what I'm seeing with many of the marketers who take our marketing courses is that marketers now know that you need to have about a minimum of about 5 to 7 GPTs or virtual assistants set up. So for example, you might have one which is about, we call our one Voice of Us. So it's a little model that's set up with examples of writing style and tone that we like.
Hmm.
It's mainly our writing, yeah, but then we might find some other pieces online that we go, oh, that nails it. That's so like us. So we'll drop that in as well. So we're
Right.
kind of instructing ChatGPT that this is how we want all of our stuff to sound. And
Hmm.
then all of our team can go in and then say, right, help me write a LinkedIn post, help me write an email article, and it'll all come out sounding in the same tone of voice. So that's just one example, which is Voice of Us. You can have Voice of the
AI.
customer.
I love it.
Sorry? But then you get a voice of the customer, which is like, okay, if I'm always writing for a particular customer type, um, you might be working in the pharma sector, you know, there's a certain type of language. You can create a GPT where it's basically set up around the persona of who you're writing for. And then again, when you go in and you say, okay, help me create some content about this, or help me plan a campaign that might be attractive to this person. And the GPT is primed for
Hmm.
your person. So all you have to do is go in and run your query and you'll get the exact answers that you want.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense. And I'm like thinking, I'm behind on my GPTs. I need to add, I didn't think of one for the customer. That I love that idea. Instead of, because I have the
Yes.
same audience, and I want
Mhm.
to actually understand more about that audience. So I didn't think of the voice of the customer. So
Well, can I give
really,
you a couple more? Actually, a third one. Okay.
yeah.
If you're in a new business and you're writing proposals to win new business, we have ours, it's called Tender is the Night.
Ooh.
So for tenders, I like to put funny names on them.
Yeah.
So in Tender of the Night, what we have is we have RFPs that we've done, excuse me, RFPs that we've done, successful RFPs we've done for kind of public sector government type of work.
Hmm.
And it's all the answers that we have done for these questions. So when we're working on a new tender, a
Hmm.
lot of them tend to have the same questions. So instead of going every time and writing it from scratch, I can go in and say, what's our sustainability policy? And it will give me a beautiful answer that is crafted using data that I have already made, but it's written in such a way that it's just fantastic. And I just have to copy and paste that. So you can work really quickly by having one just for RFPs, tenders, and proposals.
Wow.
So whenever you're kind of doing things again and again, this is what I train people to do is to stop and think, okay, if I'm doing this again and again, I'm going to create it into a virtual assistant for myself so that I don't have to keep putting the same prompt in over and over.
Hmm. That makes a lot of sense. That's very smart. And I think I also love that you break it down into the specific functions of your business, right? And so
Yes,
people can take that ownership of saying, whatever the type of business I have, I can break down those functions and then have a GPT that represents whatever the success looks like. And then
so
you're
it's fully
also
customizable. Yeah,
using your knowledge base, like your knowledge base of
yeah,
successful proposals, maybe, I don't know, your bio, your resume, all of those things can be added in. So it's like very personal and very custom to who you are and to your audience.
exactly. And
Yeah.
that's what it is. It's just fully customized experiences. And it's that's what I love about this whole AI space. It's fully customizable. It's incredibly easy to use. It's very low cost. It's very fast. What's not to like about it? Now there, okay, on the what's not to like about it, there are a few issues like ethics and bias
Yes.
and privacy and data. And every single course that we do, those issues and how to work with them are baked into every course.
Got it.
It's
Okay.
essential to understand the fact that there is bias built into the generative AI models. Now, the companies didn't go out and go, "Hey, we want to make this really biased and build it in." No,
Right.
no, no, because they fed off a lot of information that just existed on the internet and in the web and in our world. It's kind
Mhm.
of reflective back to us. There is a lot of bias in our world.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the whole thing with schools. When social media used to get a lot of kind of blame for creating online bullying. And I
Yeah.
used to say, cyberbullying only exists in schools where there's a bullying culture. It's
Right.
reflecting back what exists in the real world.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the bias, I think. It's like, yes, there is bias in the models,
Yeah.
but it is reflecting our world. So if we're aware of it in our world, you can really see it in the image creation tools. For
Right.
example,
Yeah.
if you put in a search for something like show me a successful business person, you're always going to get a man in a shiny gray suit with his hands in the air. So
Exactly.
that's yeah, like this one.
Exactly.
And DALI in particular. So
Right.
DALI is the image creation model that comes with ChatGPT.
Right.
Um, Again, I prefer to use other image creation models,
Mhm.
and all of our courses show people how to create images. And
Mhm.
one of the things that I always do is I show people if you put in a prompt, you could try this now actually if you're watching on a screen, put in a prompt for show me a woman over 40, and it'll show
Ooh,
you a really haggard, old looking, unhappy person.
that is
Then you
so.
go, show me a man over 40
He's
and
like,
you are getting handsome and rugged. And that annoys me so much.
me
So I
too.
always train people. I always say, no, 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 you have to show me a happy woman over 40. And then bing, you kind of
Yeah,
find you start getting someone looking more, realistic and true. So those
exactly.
biases exist and we have to be aware of them. And we have to, like, when we understand they're there, we have to work around them too.
Yeah. And it can also it can like take you off guard because I was just thinking a post that I did, I think it was last week. Last week was National Daughters Day. And so
Ah,
when
right.
I have an idea, I use Perplexity a lot. And so I go into Perplexity, I'm like, here's my idea, help me create a, compelling da da da. And the feedback that I got was, oh, I'm so happy that it's National Daughters Day as a father, X, Y, and Z. And I was so angry. I was like, why did you?
How
And I
dare
started,
you?
why did you assume I was a father? I
Yeah.
just reminded me, I need to post about it. So I took a screenshot and it
Yeah.
apologized and it said, oh, based on the data that I was trained on, that's more than likely why I assumed you were a
Ah,
father because you
mm,
mentioned technology. And I was like, wow, this is really scary. And
yeah.
because I'm in the AI space, I know about hallucinations, I know about bias, but I was really triggered.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Can we just take a moment though, whenever the hallucination word comes up, I always say, Shout out whoever it was in Silicon Valley who came up with the name, the branding,
Hallucination.
hallucinations. In every other world, it's called mistakes and errors.
Right, exactly.
But in the Valley, it's
Exactly.
hallucinations.
Not taking responsibility. It's like the tool
Yeah.
hallucinated, but you
Yeah.
built it. So,
Yeah. Now, speaking of hallucinations, actually, I want to go on to my next point, which
yeah.
would be the whole idea of obviously you're setting up a business, you need to be on top of your finances and your cash flow is so important. You need to be on top of like all that kind of financial forecasting. Okay. Now, if you're a kind of a creative marketer like I am, the idea of spending time poring over spreadsheets makes you break out
Mhm.
in hives. Okay, that's me. But I know I need to do it. So when I had my old business, I kind of taught myself I had to do it. But for you, the future amazing unicorn of a two-person company, now you don't have to worry about the whole kind of intricacies of managing data. So before you might have to kind of get your spreadsheets together and then you might have a document and a PDF and you have to try and bring it together and bring the dates together and do an awful lot like this. Now, using AI, you literally just have to dump all of the files into one space. Now, you want to be very secure. You want to make sure that you're not putting them into an open space where your data could be used to train the model. That's the last thing you want to do is have your cash flow turn up in someone else's, search results. But there's a really cool tool that's doing the rounds at the moment, and you've probably been all over it, Pral. It's called Notebook LM.
Yes. Yeah.
Notebook LM. So it comes to us from Google.
Mhm.
It's a free tool, which we always like, especially for starting out in business.
Mhm.
And what's different about Notebook LM is that it's powered by the Gemini, that's the Google AI. It's powered by the Gemini model, but it's built on this thing called RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. It's a particular type of technology. And essentially, what you and I need to know is that when we put any documents into Notebook LM, and we query them and we ask answers to our questions. For example, looking at my email marketing results, my Google Analytics site traffic, and maybe my Instagram ad results, tell me what was the most successful campaign and post. So
Mhm.
it can look into all of the different data you've uploaded. It can give you your answer and it sources the answer. So you can click to see where it's getting its answers from. Okay. So it's a really good way of interacting with data. But the
Yes.
really good thing about it being built on RAG is that it will only give you answers based on the information you've uploaded. So
Right.
there's less of a risk of hallucinations. So there'll be no mistakes. So the difference between a GPT and Notebook LM is that a GPT is built on ChatGPT. And if it doesn't find the answer to your question on, say, sustainability policy, it'll go off into its own training data and bring you back an answer because it's so happy to please. But if you're doing something like your finances and you don't want any spoofy answers, you can use Notebook LM. And the other reason why Notebook LM is so popular at the moment, April, is
I
the
don't know.
audio.
Oh, the audio.
The
Yes. Yes.
audio. So there's this really cool feature whereby you can upload your data, you do all of your analysis, and then there's a button you can press, and it
Yeah.
converts your data into a podcast between two really kind of chitty chatty podcasts. So it's kind of like you and I now.
Yeah.
It's like it's like, hey, looking at our finances, the cash flow is looking good, isn't it? And it's so funny and it's fantastic because what I love about this is that you can download the audio.
Yeah.
And for people who learn better through audio, for example, people with dyslexia, it's a great way of learning. You can put data into Notebook LM. Think of anyone who's maybe studying, like we have a thing in Ireland called the Leaving Cert, which is your kind of, it's like your end of year SAT. What do you call it? The last exam in school to get into university.
Oh, your final exams, your senior
That one.
exams. Hmm.
You're a senior. So we have that and it's a big deal.
Hmm.
So, I was suggesting to people who I know whose daughters and sons are doing their leaving cert is to dump all of their data into a notebook
Hmm.
and then download it as an audio file and go out for a walk and they're studying and they're learning. It's fantastic.
When I saw a demonstration of the podcast feature, I nearly cried. Like, I don't know, I just get emotional about these different,
It is
because
joy, isn't it?
It's so exciting to me when I'm thinking about AI, I'm putting it through two lenses. My daughters, who are
Yeah,
16 and 13, and my mother, who's 70. And so
right.
when I think about the future that I want to leave for my daughters and for, my mom, she was a stay-at-home mom. There's like five of us. And like, I don't even know how you survived. She's just started her own business, but she can't do everything.
Cool.
But
Yeah.
now having something where she can just have a document put in, it creates a podcast for her, she
Mm.
can organize her recipes. I mean, it's making life better. And so every time I see these new releases, I'm just like,
Oh, it's making us better, more empowered
yeah,
workers.
yes,
And I hope the people listening are going to say, I don't want to become a better, more empowered worker working for the corporate. I want to do it for myself because that's the goal. But
exactly.
with the going back to the data analysis piece as well, it's like you can upload a whole load of files and you can just say, analyze this and tell me what I should be looking for. Or
Right? Yeah.
what's missing from this information.
Yeah.
So there's so much you can do with that. So we're on top of our finances, okay. The next thing I would suggest that we look at is, I suppose you're always learning.
Right.
Um, when you run your own business, you have to stay on top of everything. Your first, I remember like when I started my first business, the first kind of 2 years, it's like everything takes a little bit longer because you're doing everything for the first time. You need to get your hosting account set up to host your website. Oh, how am I going to do that? And you have to learn how to do it.
Right.
Somebody asks you to, send out a response to a such and such a request. You have to make it for the first time, the template, the whole thing.
Yeah.
But when you're using AI, you can learn so much quicker.
Hmm.
And you mentioned Perplexity. So Perplexity is one of my faves for learning. So basically, Perplexity is like, I always liken it to like if ChatGPT and Google had a baby together, it'd be
Yes.
Perplexity. So a whole
Great
new way of
analogy.
searching. Absolutely. So, like, when you go onto Google, you go in and you ask a question. And like nowadays, you go in and ask a question and you have like, paid sponsored ad results. You've got all
Right.
the Google stuff. You
Yeah.
go onto people's website, it's cookie notice, pop-ups. It takes you quite a while to get to the little piece of information you want. And then you
Hmm.
go, I got that. And I'm going to go off to another site. But with Perplexity, you ask a question in a kind of a searchy type of way,
Yeah.
it goes off and brings you back the answers and it formulates the answer for you.
Yes.
So, and then it suggests follow-up questions you
Exactly.
might want to ask.
Like, oh, I didn't think about that. That's a great question.
Yeah, it's so great for learning. So, for
Yeah.
example, one of the things that I'm learning at the moment is I'm learning how to use make.com. Make.com is a no-code. It's amazing. Have you used it?
I haven't, but it's on my list. I have a list
Come and
now of
join
things
my
that I have.
course. I've got a course. I'm
Oh,
I'm showing
really?
people. Yeah,
Okay.
it's basically it's an AI automations course for marketers.
Hmm.
So it's for people who are going, okay, I know how to use the different AI tools to get the answer to this, to this, to this. But
Right.
now I'm showing you, well, what about if you just brought it all up together into one flow? And
Mm.
all you have to do is like drop one link into a spreadsheet and then it does everything for you. So anyway, I'm learning make.com. I'm using Perplexity all the time. So, for example, it doesn't do something for me, and I just go to Perplexity and I say, I'm using mate.com. This hasn't happened. And I put in, screenshot or copy and paste, and it gives me a really good answer. And if I say, I don't understand, it gives me another answer. And I go, tell me like I'm 7 years old.
Right.
And it explains the answer. And
Step
then
by
I get
step,
it.
explain it.
It's so cool. And then you just go back and then you just continue on your way. It's fantastic. So constant learning is definitely, I think it's the super skill that we all need to have going
Yeah.
forward in our world that we live in now. A curious mind, a critical thinking mind,
Yeah.
and a constant need for learning. So I'm kind of lucky because I've always been like this. So I'm having a moment now in my
Right.
50s. Finally, it's come around to the way I like to do things. Yeah. So that was my third thing. My fourth thing was basically, so we have market research and competitor analysis. We have our virtual assistant, we have our forecasting and financial planning, we have our constant learning, and then we have to have the life planning or using your AI as a kind of a friend. Now, I'm not talking like give up your friends and talk to it. But what I am thinking about is the many, many different ways you can just use it to make your home life easier. So
Yeah.
that when you're not working, you can actually spend a little bit more time actually with your family and your kids, or exercising or walking your dog. So, for
Yeah.
example, the classic way everyone kind of first hears about it is, make me a shopping list for a family of four. One of them only likes to eat white food.
Yeah.
One of them doesn't like to eat a lot of avocado. And you
Right.
get this amazing shopping list in
Right.
seconds.
Yeah.
Have you done that? Like, because I have loads of like items in our family menu now that I got from ChatGPT.
Yes, I've done that. I do it more from a time perspective. Like I literally have
Mm.
30 minutes and these are the things I have. What are the
Yeah.
different options that I can make? Remember, I
Yes.
only have 30 minutes. And so for
Yes.
me,
That's
it
good.
really helps me to do the
I'm going to try
timing.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I do that
That's a really good
every
one.
Sunday because I cook on Mondays. Every Sunday, I'm like, okay, give me the 30 minutes and then, I do my meal.
But you know what I often do? I take a photograph of my fridge contents because
Yeah,
you can see the great thing is like the models are now they can see, they can hear, they can
yeah,
talk. So you can take a photo and say, right, this is what I have, give me a recipe. But
yeah,
I like to basically do my meal planner and then I say, convert this into a shopping list for me. And then I go off to the supermarket with my little phone. And that's what I'm shopping for.
yeah.
But there's another great way of using it, which is fantastic. I have a lovely walkway near me. And what I will often do is at the end of a kind of, usually on a kind of a Thursday evening, I have a lot of things in my mind. I'm thinking about next week and so on. And I'm definitely not going to do this on a Friday. So I go out walking. I hold my phone down. I have the mobile version of ChatGPT on my phone, and I hold my phone down and I just walk along and I'm like, yeah, this was a good week and this, and I just basically download what's going on for me.
Yeah.
I know I need to do a little bit more work on this, and I must give some feedback to so and so, and I just talk through it, and I take my finger off, and then it kind of summarizes what's been on my mind. And I
Yeah.
say, give me some suggestions of how to prioritize this for next week. And it'll do it. And I might say, any good ideas for a couple of LinkedIn posts out of this? And it'll do it. And then I say, thank you, because we mustn't forget to say thank you. And then the
Exactly.
great thing
Yes.
is, to keep our manners. But the great thing is that because I've done this on my phone, when I'm next sitting at my desk, this
Yeah.
is all going to be available to me on my desktop. And then I can go, oh, there's that plan. So it's a great way to kind of like just download your brain, go
Ex-
out for that walk, and then come home and be really present with your
Yeah.
family, with your dog, with your cat, or whoever your loved ones are.
I love, love, love that. I've started to use the audio more because I
Yeah.
was trying to wait until I was like in the office. I'm like, I'm missing so many opportunities because my mind is always going, whether I'm dropping my kid to school, whether I'm
Yeah.
going on a walk. So I've started using the voice prompting and kind of just doing the brain dump, but I didn't
Yeah.
actually link them together. So that's definitely something that
Great.
I'm gonna do. And I feel like it's gonna boost my productivity too. Like I'm exercising and working,
Absolutely, absolutely. And then you're listening to the audio thing as well, from Notebook LM. We're all a little bit jealous of you guys in the States at the moment because the advanced voice mode on ChatGPT is
Yeah.
awesome. You can interrupt it. Now, I'm not saying interrupting is a good or bad thing, but previously, the way it was built, there was always a sort of a slight gap between when you
Mhm.
asked your question and it would start giving you an answer in a very know-all way. And if it wasn't the right answer, you had to kind of let it finish its thing.
Right.
Whereas
Yeah.
now you can go, no, no, that's not what I wanted. Give me a different recipe, and it will adjust. It can be playful. It can do different voices and tones. It's great for doing bedtime stories. But in Europe at the moment and in the UK, we're not allowed to have it because with
Oh,
the EU AI Act, there's more kind of hoops for the companies to jump in order for it to be passed for Europe wide.
yeah.
So madly, everyone's trying to work out how to get VPNs on their phone so
Right.
that we can get the advanced voice mode and that
Right.
we don't get left behind. So I do like the fact that, the EU are protecting us
Right.
in some ways, but it's kind of a bit annoying in other ways because we have to wait a little bit
And you see
longer
other
for
people
something to
using
come
it,
to us.
and you're like, no, I
Yeah,
want
I
to.
want it. I want it. Yeah,
Well, one, thank you so much for that 5 step. I love a solid 5 step plan because sometimes you can
good.
get very much overwhelmed, especially now you're already in a transitional state of going from a corporate space to doing your own thing. We add AI to it, it can be very overwhelming. So the 5 steps Awesome. I wanted to ask you just quickly because I have a few conversations that I'm having around marketing. And I feel
Mhm.
like the paradigm shift of marketing is changing a bit. And I would love to, for someone that's starting now, like I want them to
Mhm.
have the best approach for marketing. Some people are saying the funnel is broken, right? It's very transactional, it's very one way from kind of that awareness to get the person to buy. Whereas now it's more of like a fluid growth engine. It's more the transaction is actually the first step of the conversation. And then you have
Yes.
to like build that relationship around it. Is that something you can
Yes.
talk to? Only because for someone
Mhm.
starting out, I don't want them also using old approaches and not
Yes.
getting those, quick wins. So I
It's a
know this
really
is not
good point.
in the 5 steps, but if you could just touch on
Mhm.
your
No, it's a
experience.
really good point you make there, actually, because you know, if you kind of came along and said, okay, I need to discover how to market my business, and you go to Google, all of the information that's out there, all those HubSpot blog posts, and I'm not sorry, I'm not picking on HubSpot, but it's a
Right.
place where people start. Neil Patel, they always appear top of the kind of search results.
Exactly.
All of that information is now out of date.
Outdated.
So,
Yeah.
for example, the kind of spend some time writing blog posts, put the blog posts onto Google. Well, actually, now not so much. Now you're better off spending the time producing a really good piece of content like that humans only can do. So, for example, the conversation we're having now. So,
Mhm.
we've just started a podcast. Actually, we've had three episodes out so far.
Oh,
It's called Chatting GPT.
ooh.
And the line I'm loving saying at the moment is, it's available in all those good places where you get your podcasts. So if you would like to
I love
listen to
that.
me
Yeah.
chatting GPT with other people who are actually, I speak to all these amazing people who are, bringing it in terms of implementing. That's what we're about. But for example, we're walking what we talk. So we're spending our time creating human-led, really good content. And then we're using the AI tools to repurpose that content.
Got
So
it.
every single podcast episode we create using AI, we create snippets. The snippets go out on our socials. We
Mm,
use, I have an automation set up that takes the transcript of the podcast and turns it into a blog post that goes onto our site, which refers people back to the podcast. We
mm,
use AI to create snippets that goes out into emails, into email newsletters. So one piece of content,
mm,
repurpose it, and put your focus on the human to human bit. So even in terms of that's in terms of content marketing, but just speaking to your point there, Prel, about if it's about the sale,
mhm.
be the most human salesperson and
Right.
make the relationship with your client. Don't spend your time sitting in an office writing out these amazing plans and writing out these blog posts, because that's a waste of your time. So the
Yeah.
way we spend our time as marketers now has completely changed. So instead of it being all about kind of content creation, we need to rethink how we spend our time, make it more about distribution, like the repurposing thing I talked about, or
Yeah.
what I said at the very top, make it more about researching and ideation, coming up with these brilliant ideas with a little help from AI that
Yeah.
you, the human, are going to put into practice. So
Yeah.
throw away all the marketing textbooks that you ever came across in university and
The
college.
funnel hacking
Stop
and
looking at
the
blogs. Just get onto your AI. It's got
yeah.
all the answers that you need.
Yeah. And I love that because there's so many different conversations around the human interaction of AI. For me personally, I feel that my use of AI makes me a better human because I
Yeah,
can
me
really
too.
lock in on my zone of genius and all of the other things that I don't do well that make me a poor human. I can now give AI the ability to
Yeah,
do those tasks. And then I
that's
have the more
yeah.
time to do the creativity, the thought leadership, the, research. So I do feel that it can help you to become a better human, but you also have to know what you do well. And so,
And a better business owner, because like when you're speaking to that, I'm thinking of like literally hundreds of people who've been through our courses, and like they come back and they go, I never had enough time to do everything before. They knew all the things that they had to do as small business owners, but they never got the time, or they'd be like sitting down to like do their marketing on a Thursday night at their kitchen table. But now they're doing all the things that they know they should do effortlessly.
yeah,
And like I can give you examples and case studies of people whose businesses have grown by 24% in literally 6 weeks after taking our courses.
Wow.
27%. Like usually it's in around the 25 to 30% average within 6 weeks. And
That's
then
great.
they come back and it's like 8 months later, it's like, we brought on a new business line. We'd never have thought about this. And there's a woman I was speaking to recently. She's coming to do our advanced course, and she was saying she has a new business line that she only came up with thanks to AI, and that has now actually outperformed all of her existing business lines that she had before. So
My
it's
God.
like, why wouldn't you do this? It's easier, it's fun. And then, as you say yourself, it's like, don't focus on the things you don't like doing. Just keep your focus on the bits you're good at and
Yeah.
be a better human.
Yeah. And so I know we're just wrapping up. I wanted to ask you, since you've worked with so many different business owners, I'm sure you've met people who have been very reluctant. Like, I'm here because I know I have to figure this AI thing out, but I'm
Yeah.
a little nervous. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, what is your conversation? Like, how do you encourage them to, either just jump on board? Is there like a
Mhm.
process you tell them to do? But anyone who's hesitant about, getting like integrating
Getting
AI.
started. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, the first thing I would say is just do it. Get started, give yourself 15 minutes,
Mm,
ask it a question. The second thing I would say is that on our website, we have a couple of free courses, free mini courses.
okay.
And we have a free mini beginners course. We have a free mini sales. We've got an AI for sales course that is absolutely groundbreaking.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And then we have a free mid-journey design course. So take those courses, and I would guarantee at the end of that, if you weren't gagging for more, there you mustn't have a pulse.
Right.
Because once you get like that's a little bit of like a little taster of what you can do, and just do it. You
Yeah.
complete the courses, like you do the free mini courses in less than an hour, but
Mhm.
you'll get output that you will be really pleased with. And then you come back to us and say, I want to do the full course, hopefully.
Right. Right.
But they're all available actually on the homepage on our website,
Oh,
just halfway down the page.
okay. That's amazing. I'm actually going to take your AI for sales course. Sales is my
Great.
my worst because I just love doing what I do. And then when I think
Yeah.
about sales, I'm like, but so now I'm integrating marketing and sales together. So I'm actually going to take your AI for sales.
Brilliant,
Uh,
brilliant, brilliant. Well, it's amazing. Some of the people who we launched it last May, and some of the people who took it, one of them was saying to me, "Don't tell anyone this." Now I'm not giving away his name. He said,
right.
we're targeting entirely new prospects that we never have thought of. And because their competitors aren't targeting them as well, they're hoovering up all the business. And he was like, this is brilliant. Just don't tell everyone
Don't
else. And I'm
tell
like, I'm not
everyone.
giving it away. I'm not giving it away. So yeah, we've actually got the AI for sales course. We've got one starting up pretty soon on the 15th of October, actually.
Oh, okay. I'm
See
definitely
you
gonna. Yeah, I'm gonna jump
there.
into that. So we're not gonna
Great.
spill all the secrets, but for the people in the audience who want to continue following you, they want to maybe take some courses from the Institute, how best can they find you? You mentioned your podcast. Like, how can they get in touch with you to
Yeah.
learn?
Well, for people who are on LinkedIn, if you just look me up, Maryrose Lyons, I absolutely love chatting to people on LinkedIn on DMs. If you are going to connect with me, just say where you found me from, because then I'll know exactly who you are, and we'll have a better chat. So LinkedIn is one place. We've got the podcast, Chatting GPT, available on all good podcast places. The website is there. We have a newsletter you can sign up for. We don't bombard you. We drop a lot of value. We give it all away, like in the view that you're going to want more and come back. And then I'm available. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's it. LinkedIn, podcast, email, website.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. This has been so amazing. And even from what you've provided,
Great.
I can tell your organization is very generous and you guys are really focused on impact. And so I want
Yes.
to congratulate you for that because not everyone is
Thanks.
in this to help others. It's very evident. And so thank you for being so generous with your information and your
You're
experience.
welcome.
And really just, motivating and inspiring the next generation of leaders and women in business. So this is
Just take
so
that first
exciting.
step, girls. We can
Yeah.
do it. Brilliant. Thanks for having me on, Everell. It's been it's such a honestly, genuinely, I really, really want to see more women just taking that step, getting away from working under the thumb. Do it for yourself. And as I say to all of my friends and colleagues who are kind of thinking about it, if you give yourself a 6 month deadline and say,
Mhm.
right, I'm going to go for this for 6 months, hell for leather, I'm going to just do it. And
Mhm.
if it doesn't work out, you can always go looking for your job again or another job again in 6 months. But the
Mhm.
chances are it's going to work out, and you will be
Exactly.
looking back over your shoulder going, how could I ever have not succeeded at
Exactly.
this?
Why
So
did it take
just
so
do
long?
it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much. I can't wait. I have like literally pages and pages of notes here. I can't wait to go back through them. But yeah, thank you so
Great.
much again. And I
Thank you
really
for having me.
appreciate it. Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.